Now in its 10th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Bobbity bop bop buddy leedy bop bobbity bop beep bop 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 boobity bop bop buddy leedy bop bobbity bop beep bop bop bop. Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett, and this, of course, is as always the Ramble. I believe, Larry Bubbles Brown, that this is episode number 336, I believe, of us doing this.
Wow.
And I was trying to think before I went to sleep last night, how many more we have to do before we hit 500, and will I live long enough?
Well, we need apparently 166.
And we do 52 a year.
So
about
3 years.
It'd be 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can make it to 500.
That would be a daunting task.
Well, you know, it isn't amazing when we look back on how many we have done.
I know.
You know, I mean, I have endless. I mean, I don't need to do these anymore with you. I can just run old ones and nobody would have heard them.
Right.
You know, so. But Larry lives out in California, in San Francisco, the town in which I was born, my hometown. And as I watch movies with San Francisco in it, I keep saying to Marjorie, "Oh, I miss that city. Oh, I so miss that city." But you say I wouldn't. I would be disappointed.
I don't. I think you'd be disappointed. Yeah, the architecture of the new buildings is horrible, and
yeah. Well,
although we did have a small earthquake last night. You might like those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I miss the earthquakes.
Yeah.
No, don't you find that when you have one and it's kind of not really
They're kind of fun. This one last night, it started out like, wow, it's going to get big, and then it just suddenly stopped.
Well, explain to people what happens with earthquakes when you're sitting there. It makes you wonder whether it's going to be a big one or a bad one.
Yeah, you feel a little shaking, and then you realize, oh, there's an earthquake, and then it gets a little stronger, and then you start to think, oh my God, and then it either goes or stops.
It ramps up.
Yeah.
And if it's a big one, it really ramps up. You know? But then what do you do today? You go out and you see friends, right? And you say, did you feel the earthquake last night?
Everyone will talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, like it's a big deal. You know, and I grew up in that area. You know, I grew up with constant earthquakes happening. And none of them were particularly sensational until we got the Loma Prieta in,
89.
89. And that one was a big one, you know.
Were you in your apartment when that hit?
I was on Divisadero coming down the other side.
Oh, you were in the car, right.
Mm-hmm. And that was weird because I decided going down the hill to put the brakes on, and the brakes weren't working. And I couldn't figure out why. And then all of a sudden I noticed people piling out into the streets, and the overhead wires were shaking. And I suddenly realized it was an earthquake, and the reason why my brakes weren't working is my car was bouncing down the street.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, wow, we better, go back into the marina. We went back into the marina, and there was a lot of destruction,
So your building was still standing.
My building was still standing. I had some cracks in my wall, which I left there, by the way. Once they came in and fixed everything up, I said, leave the crack.
Really?
Well, because I wanted to be able to point to it and say, see, that was the earthquake. And it was only, it wasn't a crack in the wall. It was like a crack in the plaster and stuff. So, and the only damage I had was a bookcase that fell down. But that night, we were without lights and without electricity and without.
I think for a couple of days, right?
And without gas for about a couple of weeks. What happened? All the pipes in the in the marina were metal pipes that were under the ground. And so when an earthquake happened, they just broke. Right? Mm-hmm. So in every apartment house, including mine, they had to go in and redo all the gas using flexible piping. And so I was without gas for maybe 3-4 weeks, something like that.
Jesus, wow.
But we were only without electricity, I think, for about maybe half a day or something like that, at least where I was. And I've talked about this before, and I think you remember it, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I will, because at my age, that's all I have to do. I have no new memories. But my girlfriend and I had broken up, one of the many times we had broken up, and she was over at the apartment when the earthquake, when I said, well, let's go up the hill, let's go down the other side to Visadero, and then all that happened. So she wound up spending the night with me, and we screwed like crazy. I mean, like crazy. And there was something about, I have since referred to it as a rubble fuck. There's something about, and then later on I went and I asked, a psychologist or a psychiatrist or somebody was into this sort of thing, and I told him the story about this really amazing sex that we had that night. And he said, that's normal. He said people, if they have somebody around, have a tendency that night, in all the smoke going on around you, and there were lights outside of fire trucks and smoke and all of that. And he said, in all of that, people have a tendency to want to have sex because there's an urge, a primal urge to duplicate yourself.
Yeah, maybe the last chance.
Perpetuate your species. And so he said, I've heard that story a lot of times where people said, I was in a terrible situation and there was this and there was that and there was smoke in the air and whatever. And I and my wife started screwing like crazy. And he said, that's normal. He said, that's just a phenomenon of human beings. So my suggestion is that you right now book a plane, take a woman you know who you want to have sex with, and she doesn't mind having it with you, and go to Gaza right now. And have a good rubble fuck. I mean, that's my story, and I'm living by it. But, yeah. But I mean, you were in the earthquake, weren't you? You were in the Loma Prieta.
Yeah, I wasn't that far from you. Our building was, we were yellow tagged, which means there was damage, but we were allowed in.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had a person who was red tagged, though, woman I knew, and she had to move out and have a fireman go in to get her stuff with her.
Yeah, I remember that, and they wouldn't let you in the building, and there were a couple of buildings that just collapsed, and far from you.
Yeah, there was one building that looked like it was going to collapse because it was at a, what would I say, 45-degree angle or something into the street. And somehow they kept it from falling by putting up bracing and so on. And then they got the thing straight and they saved the building. It was that close. I'm using my fingers now. It was that close to falling over. It was amazing to me how they saved that. On the other hand, there was another down the street from us, a building that had collapsed, and it was 4 stories high, and it had entirely collapsed and pancaked. Nobody was killed, by the way.
No, I remember that. That was at Bay and Fillmore.
Something like that, yeah. It was done. It was North Point. I mean, it was on my street.
Yeah, somebody on the top floor.
That's right.
When it collapsed, they stepped out of their window onto the street.
It literally collapsed, and the person stepped out of their window and walked onto the street. Yeah. But he was the only person in the building at the time. but that one did collapse. I mean,
Yeah.
But so far as a lot of buildings collapsing, there weren't a lot of buildings that collapsed. There were a lot of buildings that had real damage. Like the whole backside of it fell apart and stuff like that they had to repair. But, when I left the marina, in 2003, was it? 2004? 2003. All those, you wouldn't know there had been an earthquake.
Right.
In fact, for the most part, you wouldn't have known there had been an earthquake a year later because everything was fixed and so on. But, folks, I'm telling you, move to Gaza, book a hotel room if there is one left, and you'll have the best sex you ever had. So.
Yeah. How bad is it over there? I'm not keeping up with the news. But...
Over there, Israel, well, as of the recording of this, and things could very well change by this time this was recorded, because this is going on in about 2 weeks, something like that. Israel was attacking again. I mean, I'm so ashamed to be a Jew, I mean, I've never felt ashamed of my people, but this is getting ridiculous, I mean, we're all for preserving lives and going, eschewing death. And here Israel is doing this in our name, and it's terrible. It's just terrible. But did you did you hear about? There's this movie coming out that's a live human version of Snow White. Now, why you want to do that is beyond me. But Disney figures, hey, it's good money. Let's do Snow White. We did all these others. Let's start. They did with Jungle Book, and they did Beauty and the Beast live, and let's just do Snow White. So they do this picture, and it's with Gal Gadot, who is an Israeli actress, okay, and this other woman who I never saw in my life, but she's Hispanic, playing Snow White, which, she's Hispanic. White isn't exactly the best way to describe her. That was the big mistake. That was one of the big mistakes. And all of a sudden, this woman who plays Snow White has come out with pronouncements being pro-Palestinian. And that has hurt the film with people who don't want to go see a film with a pro-Palestinian. And Gal Gadot is Israeli, and they won't appear together in interviews.
Really?
Because she said, you wrote all this stuff about Israel being horrible and the Palestinians are great, and I don't want to be in the same room with you. So they can't get them to go to interviews together. And it's supposedly just a ghastly film. They have what do you call it? The dwarves are CGI. They're human beings that are playing the parts, but they CGI'd them later, all right? And they all look bizarre. They're more scary than the witch.
Jesus.
I mean, they say it's going to be it costs $300 million to make this film. And they say it's going to be Disney's worst disaster. Because nobody wants to see it.
No.
And they're promoting it like crazy, but they won't do a premiere on it. They canceled the premiere in England, and they canceled, I think, a premiere here. They're just going to put the movie out. That's it. So, if you have Disney stock, get rid of it.
I didn't know that they had two warring stars in it.
Mm-hmm.
So. I thought it was something else that she'd said that was controversial. I didn't know it was about the guy that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think maybe she said some other things too. It seems as though today people hurt their careers by posting, putting up posts that say something. And the one that I remember recently was the trans, who was in Emilia Perez, which is a picture got nominated for Best Picture, Best Supporting, Best Actress, which she was nominated for. I mean, they put her in the female category. And then he went out and put out some posts that were very nasty towards not homosexuals. What did she go after? I think probably went after people who were, the Jews or whatever. But there's some terrible stuff she said. And so all of Hollywood hated her. And by osmosis, hated the picture as well. Mm-hmm. And Zoe Saldana won for Best Supporting Actress in that film, but that was the only thing it got. And in the beginning, when it first came out, they said, this is the picture to beat. And by the time all this stuff with her and her posts and so on came out, that picture couldn't, catch a cold. I mean, it was a disaster. So what you got to do is, hey, just don't post anything, okay?
I think if you're famous, I would get rid of every social account.
The one I can't figure out is Elon Musk. Richest man in the world, although not as rich as he was a couple of weeks ago. All right? He's lost so far about $70 billion in personal wealth. He's still the richest man in the world, but nobody's buying his damn cars anymore because of what he's doing. He shouldn't have done it. Just shut up. What makes you want to become so political? What, I want to help the world? No, you're helping the world by having a gas-free, emissionless car. Okay? You're helping the society by having rockets that can send people to the moon. Just do what you do and don't, and he just diluted everything that was his.
Yeah, he actually got those two astronauts down that have been stuck in space for months.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, thank you, SpaceX, but because they went up in a SpaceX rocket, but that's a NASA thing, that whole procedure. Mm-hmm. But and you say they brought them back safely. We're saying that because as we are talking, they're coming back. Okay, and they're going to land in the Pacific. Atlantic. I think maybe in the Gulf of America, huh? Anyway, they're going to land, and hopefully they did it fine. And when we're talking now, we say, "Wow, they brought them back." So.
Well, they were supposed to be up for a week, and they've been up there for 8 months or something.
9 months.
How do they have enough food?
Well, they had to apportion the food up there. They have a certain amount of food for a certain amount of people, so they had to do a little adjusting. And some people went back, and they didn't bring other people up. This time, they brought a whole crew of 4 up, and the 2 of them are going back. So, I mean, imagine being up in that space station and being marooned.
That's horrible.
I mean, come on. There's a certain point you go, gee, I want to get out of here. I mean, sure, it's a thrill for about 3 days.
Yeah. What if you have a medical emergency?
Oh, yeah. We never had anybody. Have we ever had anybody have a medical emergency?
I don't think so, but it could definitely happen.
I think we might have had one, and they brought it back. Yeah, I can't remember, though.
When you're up there in no gravity, you start to excrete your bone mass.
Oh yeah, that's why they're always working out.
Yeah.
And gaining, keeping. They have to work out 2 hours a day, and they have treadmills and things like that, But and they don't have weightlifting or anything because, quite frankly, you could press 100 pounds up there. I could do it, But they have these all these things that work your mass, and let you keep your mass going. But you have to do 2 hours a day up there. Otherwise, if you came back, you would just be jelly inside,
If they offered you a 3-day trip up there, would you go?
in a heartbeat.
Really, I wouldn't. Okay.
Oh no, that would be the dream of my life. If I have a bucket list, that would be on it.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. No, that doesn't bother me. I mean, the thrill of being able to go through the whole process. I think the only part where I'd be afraid of, peeing my pants is on when they take off. Okay, that you're sitting there wondering, is this thing going to blow up? But even if the thing started to blow up, they've got a safety feature now that ejects the capsule from the rocket with a parachute. And so your chances of surviving a bad takeoff is pretty good now. So
yeah, too bad they didn't have that for the Challenger.
Well, what did they know then?
Yeah.
And the saddest part was that school teacher who simply went on it because she won the raffle.
That was very sad.
That was very sad. And there was another woman who died in that, who I thought was really hot. She had big curly hair. I can't remember her name now. I found out I think she was Jewish, actually. And
what was her name?
Yeah, boy. Well, I can't remember the names of women in my spank bank. Okay, so but that was
39 years ago.
I remember watching that on television when it happened. I'm sitting there watching it, and everybody's looking, and all of a sudden it explodes, and nobody knows really what's happening up there.
Yeah, people were kind of like, they didn't know what was going on. And
maybe that's part of it,
Yeah.
And and supposedly, this is the horrible part, they were still alive.
They wrote it down, yeah.
They wrote it down, yeah.
For miles.
Oh, God. Maybe I don't want to go to the space station. The only reason I would rather go to the Chinese space station. Have you seen the Chinese space station?
No.
The reason you haven't is they don't make a big deal out of it, but China's had a space station up there for quite a few years now. And I've seen pictures of it. And inside, it's gorgeous. And have you seen the inside of our space station? It looks like a 12-year-old's bedroom. Okay? It is just not. It's really old. And really what they should do is send up a new one. But the Chinese one is just, I looked at it, I said, oh, boy, this is be a nice vacation up there. But you want to come back pretty fast so that you don't have trouble walking. They say that after 9 months, they're going to have to spend a couple of days lying down, sitting down.
I think so, yeah.
And that if they walk, they get nauseous. I didn't know nausea was part of it.
Yeah.
But it's quite a deal to spend that much time up there. You would never go, right?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
It's just I think I'd be afraid of the thing blowing up on takeoff.
Well, we've only had 2 space accidents. One was on launch with the Challenger, and the other was. Do you remember the other one?
There was one that blew up. Was coming back?
It was coming back, yeah, and it blew up, yeah. But we've only had those tragedies, and how many hundreds, maybe hundreds of people have we sent up? How many thousands?
Mm-hmm.
So your space travel is probably safer than you driving your car to L.A. Okay. So
sure.
Yeah. So it's not, space travel is pretty safe, all things considered. Just scary. That's all. You don't when you go to an amusement park, you don't like a scary ride, do you?
When I was a kid, I did. Yeah.
Really?
Now I wouldn't. I got. I think my fear of heights has been heightened. I think as I gotten older.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You know when you know it's strange, and we have to wrap this up. But is that when you're riding an airplane, I always wondered. I always have a fear of heights too. But when I look out an airplane window, I don't have a fear of heights.
Same here. Yeah.
They say because you don't have when you're on a building, you can see the side of the building, so you have a relationship to the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, and you could actually follow.
Yeah, but on a plane there is none. There's no. You're just flying. You're not.
Yeah.
You know. So I can look down and go, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, isn't that cool? Anyway, hey, we've run out of time, Larry Bubbles Brown.
Yes, we have.
Number 300 and I think it's 336. I think this one is. Yeah.
So 166 more to go.
Yeah. How many hours do you figure that is?
So 106. So we do about half an hour. So it'd be about 83 hours
That we've done so far?
that we need to go to 500.
Oh, need to go to 500. I see. Okay. But how many? Well, I'll figure it out later. Anyway, Larry.
Thank you.
Larry Brown. Thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, in its 11th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yes. Thank you very much, Larry. Really appreciate it, as always. I have a lozenge in my mouth tonight because today, you know what's great is when you have a cold and all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you cough, but it's this gurgling cough and it's like it's breaking up, as Marjorie likes to put it, breaking up. And it was breaking up, and it was terrific, So anyway, my cold is kind of breaking up. I'm coughing still, but I got a lozenge in my mouth so that I don't. I try not to cough during this program. Anyway, let's admit the people that are waiting to come on here. Let's see here. We got Kevin, and we got Jeff, and we got Josh. Hello, to all of you. If these were the only people who showed up tonight, this would be a fine show. How are you all?
Good. How you doing?
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Yep.
Want to make sure you're okay. Well, anything you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for tonight then.
See you tomorrow
Okay.
when we talk about real stuff.
Yeah. Well, I always flake out early on the show. I'm a wuss. But then I do this, a couple of nights a week, and I'm good for about an hour though, right? In most cases.
Yeah, sometimes longer than that.
Yeah,
Every
sometimes
once in a
I'm
while.
wasted. We get together on Saturday night, and don't try to call in because we won't answer your call. But there's this little party we have, right?
Yeah, usually.
And usually when I leave, see, because they know me, they start talking sports. It's like it becomes a sports show, yeah. Because I would have nothing to say about it,
Sometimes.
Anyway, I'm drinking some coffee to kind of keep me awake tonight, and here we are. Wow, another week of fun and games, huh?
Never ending.
Well, Trump, something to begin with, you should never get anybody like a Trump who has been never really been in show business but thinks he is.
Yeah.
He never really was in show business. If you were to ask me would I consider him part of the show business community, I would say, nah, he's just the host of a game show.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right? But he thinks, oh, I'm in show business and I've got to do, and he wants people talking about him every single day. And somehow he has conned them into doing that. And there's nobody more guilty about that than the news networks that exist and you and I who sit here and we'll probably talk about them tonight, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
Aren't we getting
can't
tired
get
of it?
around it.
Huh?
Well, I mean, some of it is necessary because these people are in, leadership positions that affect our lives, so we have to have some discussion of it. But, like I said, this is why I've argued that a Democrat needs to start talking, and they need to continue talking, and they need to say things that forces the media to talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, just give some answers that the media just can't believe. Like I said, when they ask you what you're going to do to help people on food stamps and all that, just be like, I'm not going to do anything. Fuck those people. Just fucking say that. And
Yeah.
then let the media go sit around for 3 days and be like, can you believe that a Democrat said that because people voted for Trump, he's not going to help them get off of food stamps? And then they'll talk about you for 3 days. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
you see,
yeah,
we've been
fuck
spoiled.
'em.
As a country, we've been spoiled because most of the people, even the worst ones who became president, and I don't think George Bush Jr. was a particularly good president, but, I never liked Ronald Reagan, but at least they felt that in their job, part of their job was to watch out for the American public. And this president doesn't give a crap about the American public.
Yep.
He only cares about what serves him best. And now he's bragging about how much money he made his pals last week,
Yeah.
Right.
And that's called insider trading, folks. In case you haven't heard of it, it's not considered proper.
As soon as he
Good.
said that yesterday, and then I heard Josh talking about how walking through the, walking through the hallways and bumping into a millionaire or a billionaire.
Yeah.
And then you see that clip where he's in there boasting about how Charles Schwab only made $290 million this week, and the other guy, made $500 million or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that, you just want to lean over and puke.
Well, his pals, I think, knew what he was going to do.
And does anybody bring it up except, oh, well, I think he did this. And
Listen, you
they
don't even
fucking
hear
ram it down his throat.
You don't even hear about it on people like MSNBC, who would be the people to bring it up, right? But they don't bring it up. Huh?
The one thing I did hear with this bill, the big, beautiful bill they just passed.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of shit in that thing. It's just a grocery list of shit in it. But I was hearing that, the Medicaid thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Medicaid thing, if they do any cutting, these red states down south that are heavy in Medicaid are going to get screwed because they have laws written into their state laws that say that if we don't get X amount of Medicaid from the federal government, then boom, party's over, no more Medicaid. So they can get around that. We're not going to cut Medicaid.
Let me get this straight, though. Medicaid is like for states to give out, right? And it's given out to
but it's
people.
subsidized by the federal government.
Yeah, but it's given out not like Medicare, which is you access that
low-income people. You have to have a certain.
I get Medicare. I'm not low income, but I get Medicare.
Right.
Medicaid is for low income people.
Right.
It's
And
basically
all
the same
those people
thing
down there were Trump voters. And if they get cut,
Right.
who's going to be there? Well, you fucking made your own bed.
Yeah.
Because there's laws that says it'll get cut. There's 17 states that says it's going to get cut. And then there's other states like Arizona that says if they lower it down to 50% of a subsidy to they're going to cut it. And there's all these different states have different laws. I don't know what California is. I don't think California probably stays out of that shit, but there's a great number of red states that have that clause that if they get cut, it's gone. And then they can say, well, we didn't cut it because we just didn't subsidize it. You guys cut it. So he'll get away with the Medicaid cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then all his voters will be sitting there going, hey, he wasn't supposed to do that to us.
But, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is you and I are not watching Fox, for example. And if you watch them, what the story they're telling is Donald Trump is what he's doing right now is incredible. He's the best
I know.
president we've
I
ever
watch it.
had. The best president we've ever had, and he knows the art of the deal. And
Yeah,
that's what
that's
this
the
is
big
all
thing.
about.
That's what Carolyn Levitt or whatever her fucking name is, the press secretary. She's under his desk every fucking day.
Yeah. Yeah.
She comes out. You just don't know the art of the deal, and if you don't know the art of the deal, then you don't know Mr. Trump, and he's going to save this. And
Yeah.
every American knows that he's
Okay.
going to save this.
For a moment, let me just ask you this question. Who wrote the art of the deal?
Fuck, I don't. It was supposed to be about him. I
It
don't know who
wasn't
wrote the
Donald
fucking
Trump. It
No.
was a guy he simply talked to, and the
That's
guy
right, yeah.
turned it into a book.
Right.
And this guy says he thinks Donald Trump's a big jerk. you know.
thing.
But I mean, it was ghost written. It was all ghost written. He doesn't know about the art of the deal. One of the chapters in the book is about how he was a success at casinos.
Yeah.
Well, even I heard a friend was commenting on Facebook. I don't know how good it is, but he's all over this shit, and he said that his plan is to back off on, get everybody else to go after China, right? And
Mhm.
that's like the TPP that he pulled himself out of that Obama put in place.
Mhm.
Now he wants to do that, exactly what they're doing, what they're trying to set up to do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck,
TPP
dude?
was what exactly?
The
Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Trans-Pacific Partnership, yeah.
It was a trade agreement with a bunch of, I believe, Asian markets.
Yeah, Obama set it up, and
Pacific
then
regional area. Japan and Korea and like Malaysia and places like that. I believe
Yeah.
he basically wants to rebuild it.
it was more free trade. I mean, it was no tariff free trade agreements. I believe very similar to what we lived with like Canada and Mexico. It was just another way to make it easy for us to ship goods there,
Yep.
and them to ship goods here. And it's a global market, it's a global economy. If you believe in tariffs, they exist. That's an economic theory. There's not a lot of people that believe in them anymore because the model of the world has changed dramatically since tariffs were basically a popular and normally used economic lever. I mean, since the time that, tariffs were popular and were used as a tool to help guide the economy, the entire world has turned upside down since then, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, we fought 2 world wars since that period that both literally redrew the maps of the world, I mean, quite literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And generations of people were forever changed by the effects of that war. Geographically, emotionally, psychologically, economically, you know what I'm saying? The list goes on, right? So that's why they went by the wayside. And that's why when people talk about bringing them back, smart people, economics professors, historians, political scientists, all usually shake their head and say, that doesn't work. That's a whole other world. So it doesn't exist anymore. And even if you update it for this world, it doesn't apply. It's no longer applicable.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a handful of what most of the world has viewed as crackheads who believe in them, and Trump just happens to be one of those people and then has surrounded himself with those people. And my understanding is he's a fairly easy guy to talk stuff into. If you go in there and you talk nice to him and you tell him how awesome he is and everything, he'll use your idea, And like Peter Navarro is one of those guys or whatever. He's got his own little agenda and everything for that. So that's why they're using them, but they're not really needed anymore. They have this. Trump has this like hard on about if we have any kind of trade deficit with another country, that must mean that they're screwing us. because we buy more from them than they buy from us. But that doesn't mean anything.
Well,
I mean,
to begin with,
just,
they buy more. We buy more from them than they buy from us because they don't have anything they have to buy from us.
right, but it's okay to have a deficit at certain things in life and still have a circulating healthy economy.
Mhm.
I mean, I've heard these examples before from economists and things like that. Like you and I or whoever, we all run a deficit, like with our barber, right?
Mhm.
We go in and we get a good from our barber, but he never buys anything from us. Well, does that mean that we should stop? No.
Going to the barber, yeah,
We
yeah.
exchange money and it circulates in the pool, you know what I'm saying? But the barber does go buy things somewhere that my company makes or your company makes or that guy's company. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's so elementary, but
Well,
look, this
yeah.
organization or this administration is honestly, and I'm not being funny here, it's not staffed by very smart people. It's just not.
The least smart of which is Donald Trump. Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
right. I
The
mean,
myth is, see, I mean, we live by this myth that Donald Trump is a great businessman,
Yeah.
and he's never been a great businessman. You know,
right.
he built a couple of buildings here in New York and other things that he was subsidized in building.
Right.
I mean, I think he got a great tax deal on Trump Tower.
I don't
You
think he
know.
paid half the people that built it either.
No, that was the other problem.
Possible. Yeah.
Excuse me, folks. I'm still suffering from my cold.
I mean, that's the thing is, we outsourced things for a reason because no one wanted to do these things at a low rate to keep prices down. So we outsourced
Well,
to China. We
yeah.
outsourced to wherever. Now he wants to bring it all back, but are we going to pay $30 an hour to all these new factories and whatnot?
No,
I mean,
no,
It's not going to work.
No,
It's going to go backwards.
not unless he tries to pass laws to prevent unions from doing what they do.
Right.
As an example, I mean, folks, if you don't like unions, you should like unions because if you're getting a fairly decent wage right now, you can thank the unions for that. Because it's the old thing about boats will rise as the tide rises. And the tide has risen where the unions have gotten larger and larger amounts of money for people, and everybody else rises up with them. Americans aren't going to want to put that screw in an iPhone, plain and simple.
Unless they're paid $45 an hour.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah,
number one, it would actually, and I've been in industry and manufacturing for a long time. It is hard to fill the head count out. I mean, it just is. And
What do you mean filling the head count out?
to get enough people to work in the factories.
Okay, yeah.
Get a
okay.
warehouse
I mean,
guy or a forklift
they're-
driver
they're-
or whatever. Yeah.
They're always hiring people because they never have enough, and the reality is, especially as the generations are changing. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, I know plenty of people who are like in their 20s and aren't making, as much money as they could, and they're complaining about it. And it's like, well, I could get you a job where I work. We're hiring right now, and by the end of your second year, you'll be making around $38 to $39 an hour. And it's like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to come up there and get a job. That's great. And it's like, but you got to work a rotating 12-hour shift and every other weekend. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I ain't doing that. Fuck
Yeah.
that. I'm not doing that.
It's work.
I'm not doing that. Fuck
Yeah,
that. My
yeah.
kids are more important than any job. Okay, cool.
The
All right.
reason-
I
the
mean,
reason why
that's
we-
fair. But what I'm saying is immigrants are typically here and they're in an economic situation where they're like, if that's the hours, that's the job. Fuck it.
Yep.
I'll take the job. Right. But people, like in my neighborhood, I'm just saying people who are like 27 with a 5-year-old or whatever, like, I'm not doing it. I mean, my mom and dad would have done it because they would have been like, well, that's what we got to do to make our living. Right. But now people are like, nope. Fuck that, But my kid got T-ball game, and I ain't missing games. No job is more important than my kid's childhood. I mean, that's fine, right? I'm not going to criticize that. I'm just saying, but the factory floors are not full of headcount. I mean, they're constantly looking to hire people and they can't find them.
Well, folks, do you expect a man like Donald Trump, who has had absolutely no experience with being, what's the term? How am I going to look at this? Being experienced at lower jobs and understanding how the other half lives. He has no idea how the other half lives.
No fucking clue.
You know, and he doesn't even, what he lacks that prevents him from being able to at least deal with it is he lacks the ability at empathy. And so he can't empathize with those people. And I think that's the main problem we've got going here. That and the people he surrounded himself with, you know, they're all selfish fucks. Period. That's it. You know.
And they know that they kiss his ass, they'll still have a job.
I mean, most of them are just really not that. I mean, again, they're just not smart people, you know.
Well, did you?
I mean,
did you see the press thing they did yesterday of all the people in the what do you call it, the cabinet?
The cabinet meeting.
And in the cabinet meeting started out, the first 20 minutes of it was going around the table and having everybody praise Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Normal. Yeah.
Rather than saying, well, let's get down to business, guys. You know.
If it
But,
wasn't for
I mean,
you, we wouldn't do this. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing
yeah,
this.
right.
It's
But you know, in the
bow to the
first
king.
go around, I saw a lot of it, but now it's really exclusively. I mean, the people that work in the administration. I mean, and I'm just being honest. This is their only chance ever to work in any of these kinds of jobs.
Right.
Because no other administration, from Democrat or Republican, Reagan to Bush, both Bushes, whoever, none of them will hire these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like Pete Hegseth would never have a job, period, in any administration. And here he is, Secretary of Defense.
He could barely have a job at Fox and Friends because he only
Right.
worked the weekend show.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like the Commerce Secretary and the Treasury Secretary. Neither one of these guys need to be Secretary of anything. I wouldn't even want them to be the secretary at the desk outside that answers the phone for the real Secretary of.
Yeah.
Fucking
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But here they are, because this is the only administration where they have a chance to have this job that they've wanted. You know, like to be the Secretary of the Treasury.
And just like a
mean,
company, if you,
you know.
brown nose the boss, you'll be there just forever.
I mean, that's,
Well, they went around that table. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't.
I'd get a fucking bag and puke into it.
well, I can believe it, because like I said, this is the only opportunity that these folks are ever gonna have. You know, because when this dipshit is gone, and they are never gonna
Nobody's
have
gonna
that
rehire them.
opportunity again.
Oh yeah, Mr. Hegseth, we want you to stay on for the next administration.
Right.
We
You know,
want.
I mean,
No, fuck no.
Yeah, it would never ever happen, you know? I mean, it's like the total opposite of what you would see with, like, you know, like Bob Gates, who stayed into a Democratic administration to stay Secretary of Defense, right? Because President Obama said, you know, there's all this transition right now in Afghanistan and all this, and you're the guy who set it up, and you know, I don't agree with you on everything, but you're a good Secretary of Defense. Let's keep you
Right.
around for the first half of my term. You know what I mean? That shit's, you know, that's not going to happen with any of these people. Period.
So how does this augur for the future? You know, I mean, is this going to be the destiny of America to have these kind of leaders?
I don't know long term. I mean,
I would hope.
I think ideally what I'd like to happen, and what's probably going to happen, is they are incompetent, and they are going to make a mess of some things, and they are going to fuck some stuff up. I mean, I know we've been talking about that, and like I've said, it's not going to be like tomorrow we're going to notice the difference, but 2 years from now or whatever, there are going to be people in Alabama who voted for Trump who aren't going to have Medicaid anymore. It's just gone, right? Their welfare check that they got is either going to be gone or cut in half. Their food stamps gone or cut in half. I mean, they're going to suffer. Whether they thought they thought it was just going to be kick out the Mexicans, and then I could still sit here on my porch and
I
smoke
can
my
buy
14 packs of
eggs. Yeah.
cigarettes a day, and drink my 19 Bush Lights that the government paid for and all that. And when a Democrat starts talking like I do, some people are going to start fucking listening, because this is how some of these white trash fucking people live, all right? So when they start getting the fucking point, they're going to see it, and I think they're going to have some backlash over it, and then maybe a return to some normalcy. But, I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee anything. But, we'll see how it goes. But I think they're definitely going to mess some stuff up. I mean, they already are. I mean, there are already people out there who voted for Trump who worked for the government and literally got fired because of who they cast their vote for. I mean, they don't have a job now.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no.
period.
If
And,
you're
and and the fact is, 100%, zero doubt, if Trump had not won the election, those people would be at their desk doing their job, getting a check, and they are not, because of who they voted for. So that's life. I mean, they made their decision.
well, I mean, it's just the question is, how do you get the people who think he's good idea, even with all of this that's been going on, because they're being fed a different story by Fox. They're being fed a story of this most wonderful president ever. Boy, he knows the art of the deal. He meant to do it the way he did it, because now they're all clamoring to talk with him. That's according to him, by the way.
Right.
The
Well, like I
question.
said, until their food stamps are not as plentiful as they used to be, and their Medicaid goes away, and their Social Security disability check that they get because they got a bad back and they can't
But
work
do
or
you
whatever. I
think
mean,
that,
I'm just saying,
you
this
think
shit's gonna,
you think they're going to blame that on Trump?
well, I don't. I
I mean,
think
When it hits them
when
in
the
the
money goes
pocketbook,
away,
that's
they're
when
gonna have to see
yeah,
whose fault it was. I
they're
mean,
gonna wake
but
up
you-
then,
you-
but they're
you-
not awake until then.
Well, maybe they're not awake after that either. These are not sophisticated
Possible.
people. These are
That's
not people who are politically
Exactly the
aware.
truth.
yeah, right.
And I'm just wondering if those people, even though they don't get their Medicaid anymore, are going to go, well, it's the fault of the Democrats, or Biden set this all up.
Well, they will, to a point, but you got to face reality sooner or later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, when the money goes away, I mean, I
That
mean,
shit talks.
it'll take a long time for them to admit to themselves what they did to themselves, but eventually, like I said, when the old $7.98 pack of fucking Bush Light is suddenly $10.98 because the price of aluminum is through the roof, right? And Anheuser-Busch is paying 10 times as much for aluminum as they were a year ago. Suddenly they'll start to be like, damn, all this fucking free drinking is eating me up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes. You
I might have to get a job. Fuck that.
You have a comment, sir.
Yeah, I totally agree with Josh. I was listening to the show, organizing something beforehand. These people should have learned from his first presidency. He told the people in the states where they mine coal that you will be making tons of money mining coal, because we're going to use coal to make electricity.
Boy. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what that will do to whether they'll suddenly decide out there at Facebook or well, whatever. I won't even post the show tonight. What the hell? I've got to go. And what time is it here? It's 11:30. So if I go about an hour into the show, I think I can blank it out. Okay. Won't be able to do it on the live feed, but, whatever. So, anyway, let's go back to our panel. Let me see here. Okay.
So I was saying that they should have learned. I agree with Josh about the people in Mississippi and stuff like that. They should have learned from the first time. In Virginia, they promised that, I said this, they promised that the coal miners, they'd be digging for coal again, making tons of money, and because they're going to make electricity with coal. They didn't do that, and when Trump tried to cancel Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
One of the first states to lose that care or that level of money was Virginia, West Virginia, wherever they mine that coal.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if they didn't learn then, I think they voted for him this time around. I don't think they have anything to complain about. They lose their job if their beer goes up in price. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you're that stupid, you deserve it.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, it's been covered, but I mean, like I said, the Washington Post runs like maybe an article a week about this, and they ran a really big one right after the inauguration of some small town in Pennsylvania, where the election was close, and they went around and they were interviewing all these, basically middle-aged white people who voted for Trump,
mm-hmm.
all of whom received some kind of public assistance. And I mean, it was like Bob the carpenter who gets $350 a month in food stamps because of this, and all those people to a person were like, "Oh, I know there's that risk that he would cut these benefits that I get, but I really don't think he would ever do that. He knows who his people are. He would never do that to us. That's just a lot of
Yep.
talk from the media. If he did that, it would just shock me, and I wouldn't be able to survive. And I think he knows that if he did that, I would be done with him and his party for forever. And I mean, I read the article, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. What I mean? Like, call me in a year, you fucking dipshit. You
Yep.
know what I mean? But, but, so I mean, if it happens,
Yeah, bring him back. Give him black
yeah,
lung. That's
These
you
are
know,
the same people though that they're on welfare. They're
yeah, right,
living on subsidies, and when Trump
yeah.
needs money for his defense, they're like, "Yeah, the dog can afford to not go with food this week. Just
Yeah.
send him $50."
I mean, they,
You
you
know.
know, they'll slowly start to see that, like, just stuff will add up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the library isn't open anymore after school so that your kid can go there and do activities and things, maybe he or she will get themselves into trouble because they're on the streets now. What I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they'll see this money does go somewhere and does do certain things. I'm sure there's government money that gets wasted. I'm positive about it. But I've always said, like, I would rather have the government spending the enough money and then wasting a little bit than not have them spending enough money at all to support what we need and wasting none. That's
Yeah.
my philosophy. But it's like, but if fine, let's try it your way for a little while then. Call me and let me know how that works out. I mean, I'm telling you, the big crisis that's coming that no one talks about, that literally is ticking and ticking and ticking, and they've screwed around with it and screwed around with it, and no one knows what's going to happen, is the student loan repayment program crisis. Because now he wants to get rid of, and they have no right to do it via legislation or anything, they want to get rid of all these income based programs and everything, even the ones that have been there that were mandated by federal law in the 90s. He doesn't want to have any of that stuff anymore. They want everyone to be on the standard 10-year repayment plan. And I'm telling you, there are people out there, no one can afford those repayment programs. No one can afford to borrow 80 or $90,000 at 8.5% for 10 years. Just punch that into a calculator and see what kind of payment that is. No one can afford that. And that is what they want. And they want to take it away from the Department of Education. They say they're going to give it to the Small Business Administration, who's not capable of doing it. I mean, this is the most massive bureaucracy in the government. I mean, there are trillions of dollars currently in outstanding student loans, and they're taking their wrecking ball to it, and it is going to cause, I'm telling you, it's going to cause an issue. And then they've been threatening, well, when we go to these new programs, if you can't pay it, we'll use the law and we'll garnish your wages. Well, when they start garnishing the wages of tens of millions of people in this country, uh, I, I'm telling you, that is the one that's going to get them in trouble because they have it in their mind that the only people who took out student loans for some reason or another were like high class, affluent, rich people who used these loans to go to Yale and Harvard and Stanford. And I don't know what the fuck in their mind hasn't set off some kind of alarm bell that says those people didn't need fucking money to go there. They already had it. The people who took out loans to get an education were not affluent, rich people who just don't want to pay the money back now. It was regular people with regular jobs. I mean, that's the one that's going to get them into some trouble. Like they're already talking about now disbanding. Again, they have no right to disband it because it's mandated by federal law, like the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and all this other stuff, I mean, the government had programs that said if you take out student loans and you go into public service, if you go work for a nonprofit or you go teach in a certain school in a shitty area and you do it for 10 years, they'll wipe out your loans. They want to do away with that. I mean, but that's the least of it. The ones that they really want to do away with are the 3 or 4 income-based repayment programs, and they just want to put everybody on a straight table, just like when you buy a car or whatever. And for all their tough talk about how let's just follow the law and all that, well, that wasn't the law when I took my loans out, or my wife did, or any of these other people did. The law was the law. It had income-based repayment plans. That was the law that I signed when I'm not saying I won't pay you my money. I'm saying I'll pay you my money on this income-based repayment plan because that's what I agreed to when I took out the loan and I signed the paperwork. And now you want to change the terms of the loan after I've signed the papers. That's what I'm saying. This is the crap that they're trying to pull, and it will hurt working people, and it's all going to catch up to them eventually. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more money in student loans outstanding right now than I think any other government program, period. I mean, the number that I heard the other day, it's like, I'm serious, it's like $6.5 trillion worth of outstanding.
Well, I had an ex-wife that never paid hers. They never paid on hers, and they never came
Right.
after her.
Right. Well, but with some programs, that's okay. That's why the government backed it. Like the government said, if you go get the loan and then you go do this, this, and this, or your income is this, and this, for this long, here's what you will get wiped out or, get
Well,
forgiven.
that's what
or
happened with Marjorie. She went and got herself a teaching license, and she taught for a certain number of years, and that took care of her
Correct.
her
Yeah, under the PSLF, usually
obligation.
10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, but they want to do away with, I mean, it's like, but you don't understand, like, they only have the right under the income-based plans to take so much of your discretionary income for a reason. Because if they had the right to take more of it, you're already committed to these other payments and assets like automobiles and mortgages, things that can't go away.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the law is written the way that it is. So if you make it to the where, oh no, you just have to pay. People can't pay all of it. They just can't. The money isn't there. So are the big banks that, loaned all this money out, they're going to demand their money from the government because that's what their contract says. So, well, they're going to take people's money out of their wages. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They don't have any clue
Mm-hmm.
of the breadth and width of that issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, the student loan program has become just like Social Security and Medicare. It is so large that no one wants to touch it. Democrats have been trying to fix it, right, for the last 7, 8, 9 years, right? They have recognized that it's a problem and that, doesn't matter how we got here, okay, or whose fault it was, here we are. And they've been trying to do something about it, and, no one's interested in doing it. So, and then all I've ever heard the last 10 years when they've tried to fix it is, well, fuck that. This is what they signed up for. Let's just follow the law. Okay. Well, now the Republicans are the ones wanting to do away with the laws. I mean, when there's no one in the last 20 years that took out a loan that when they took it out, they didn't sign paperwork that said you would be eligible for an income-based repayment plan when it comes time to pay back your loans. Everyone was told they would be eligible for that because everyone is eligible for that. If you make $1 million a year, you're probably not eligible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you make $70,000 a year because you got a master's degree and now you teach in a public school, your payment is probably supposed to be, $70,000 for 10 years at 9%. It's probably supposed to be like, $1,100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
But under the government's program, they say no, because of your income, you can only, the max we can charge you is $285.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's a big difference. You can't. That's what I'm saying. They're not going to be able to make. If you still owe 3 years on your car, and your car company called up and said, "Hey, I know your payment's $385 a month, but we're going to change it to $1,260, and if you don't like that, you can give the car." I mean, that would be a crisis in this country, right? If they did that there, that's exactly what I mean. So, man, that's what I'm saying. This whole wrecking ball of the government thing, it sounds good when they run their mouth about it, but in real life, it's not going to work out very well for people. And they're going to start to understand whose fault it is. I mean, he's the one in office, Democrats don't control shit.
No.
So,
maybe they will, in the midterms. But I don't have any great faith in the midterms, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yes, Jeff.
Oh, I was talking to somebody.
We can't hear you, Jeff. There's something wrong.
Just right there.
No, I think it's because you're using your earphones to talk to us through.
Yeah.
And
That sound better?
well,
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah. That sounds better. Yeah.
I can't hear you though.
Yeah. Well, but what you were doing is you were having the earphones being the thing that you would hear your audio, your speaking audio.
Just
would
put
go
one
through.
in.
Yeah, just put one in. Now we can't hear me.
Yeah.
So, oh boy, been a night of missteps tonight. I tell you, that thing earlier got to me finally. I don't know how to solve the problem and allow people to call this program. And it's a problem with Zoom, in that Zoom doesn't do anything to prevent this or to create a system whereby I can block people out. And so consequently, I'm going to have to go back after the show, do some editing at least on one of my shows, and maybe not have the live version go through.
Can I put on and off while I'm talking?
Now, but now we can't even tell him to not talk.
Okay, let me go up here.
No, just forget it.
Put the earphones in. Put the earphones in. Put the earphones in.
See,
Put the earphones in. Put them in. Put them in. See?
I think he's saying put them back in.
Put the earphones in.
Oh, put them back in.
Go ahead.
Put the AirPods on. AirPods on. Can you see that, Jeff? Oh
How many
God.
fingers am I holding up? What day of the week is it?
Hmm? Look at this. Put on AirPods. Put in AirPods. Do you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can hear us.
Just leave one in.
I don't know why it's working.
Now we can hear you great. Don't touch
And
anything.
I can hear you guys.
Just put one in. Don't put two in.
Really?
No, he's fine.
I got both of them.
Yeah, he's good.
Hmm.
Don't touch anything.
Magic. Can I talk?
Yeah. Go
for it.
What were you going to say?
I forgot. No, I was talking about this young lady that we know. And her and her boyfriend, I think they're married, or they're getting married.
Mhm.
They're building a house because somebody in the family gave them property because they had extra property. This is in, I think, Vermont or Maine. Maine. Anyway, so they were doing fine, even though she has one of those jobs it's a librarian. She's a librarian. Okay? Well, those things are going to be reduced. I wouldn't say canceled, but it's been reduced. If they reduce her job, that house that is halfway done is going to stay halfway done. So she called her Republican mother and father. What's happening? And what are you going to do? And they said, "Oh, don't worry, it'll take care of itself." That's the Republican strategy.
Yeah, I guess it is a Republican strategy.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry, it'll be all right. Sad.
Well, let me see here. What did you write to me, Kevin? You said something.
I
here.
just sent you some screenshots of that fucker. Maybe you can send it back to him and they can AI search his face.
I doubt it. I
just went and grabbed the screenshots before he got taken off.
No.
Well, the second one was Phil Meyer, right?
Yeah, right.
No, it looks like
I mean, I may just not post the shows at all tonight, rather than
it only hit for about 5 seconds, but that was all it was.
Yeah, but it's still, that was enough. You know,
but the guy's face was there. That's why I went and grabbed the screenshot.
But I don't think that was his face at the beginning.
I don't think so either. I think that was just nasty porn.
No. Before it came on,
I know
he was sitting there and he went and then pushed the button. I think that happens if they're coming on. It's them, and then they got to push their little porn shit. The button, and then it shows them for a second or two. I think that's the guy that's doing it. He's got headphones on and everything. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't think so. I think they put up a phony video.
That
to
could be
start
too.
off with to kind of throw us off. I was just stupid. I saw it. It looked like somebody who had not put a name to their.
I just took a picture of the iPhone 12 and then his face twice.
Yeah,
and then whatever.
And I decided to give it a shot, and I really should have gone to my my face and then gone to that. Never trusted anything. All right. Yeah. But
anyway, I thought maybe if you want to use it, you can use it.
Well, thank you for doing that. It just frustrates me, you know. I mean, I hate to say this because
people got nothing better to do.
They're probably listening and going, "Oh, we got him good." No, but it frustrates me because it wastes my time. Okay, after the show. But what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to post this show tonight. You know, maybe tomorrow I'll do some editing on the thing and.
All right. Well, that's good because I'm going to get up, pull my pants down, and show you a wart. No,
good.
I'm just kidding.
No, we already did the medical minute. You can't do that shit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, a new program we do called "Does This Look Like a Hemorrhoid to You?" Yeah.
So I actually was late because I was on the phone with a cardiologist.
Really? Why?
Well, you know that I have these tests done. Having chest discomfort. Well, they didn't find any need for a stent or surgery. They said raise the statins up and a baby aspirin a day. And if he wants to lose weight, if they'll give you the injectables, which they won't, because they have Kaiser, get the injectables. But
they won't give it to you.
Well, you know, so Medicare will cover it if you are diabetic. Or if you have cardiovascular disease. Well, now I do have some. The cardiologist said there's some plaque in my arteries and stuff. Not a lot. That's just about everybody has that. But now I'm wondering. I'm going to talk to my regular doctor on Monday if that's considered what Medicare will cover, and then I'll see if they'll give me Ozempic or whatever.
Well, Medicare, a lot of the medical plans should. What do you call plans? The plans for prescription drugs should handle it. You know, if you have a doctor that says, "Hey, you need this,"
my doctor will write the script. He's told me that before, but Kaiser wouldn't cover it now, and Medicare wouldn't cover it. But now,
well, wait a minute. Your doctor is at what do you call it? Kaiser, right?
Kaiser.
That's right.
And so if he's going to prescribe something to you at Kaiser, shouldn't Kaiser cover it?
Not if it's not formulary.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense, does it? Then why do they have doctors there? You know.
To write the prescriptions, obviously. So,
You know. I think there must be a way you can get them to okay it. If your doctor says you need it,
well, I obviously
That's gotten
need
a
it.
lot
I mean, all
looser.
you got to do is take one look at me, and you can tell I need it. But but the flip side to this is that some of these drugs have side effects that people can't tolerate or can't take because of other drugs they're taking.
Mhm.
And all my blood work and everything, including lack of diabetes and stuff, is good at this weight. If I lose weight, it'd be easier on my back and my knees, which are screwed up from my prior career. Will
Mhm.
that add to my quality of life by losing weight? Probably.
oh,
But
listen, I'm the first one to tell you, lose weight. You know,
Absolutely.
there's no question in my mind that your weight is going to be the death of you. You
uh,
know, and
living is going to be the death of
well,
you
no,
too.
but if there's going to be anything that's going to get you in the end, it's going to be that. Or things that are made
Yeah.
worse by the fact that you're overweight. And I'm not telling you anything about being overweight. You obviously
No,
are.
I know. Yeah, I know. So
I don't know how overweight. I never see you much. I have never seen you in person, but I
I
assume
don't think
it's
I have a wide enough angle lens. I weigh 300 pounds.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
6 foot. I'm 6 foot tall too. Also, so but yeah, I definitely have a big belly.
well, you're still too fat for your height.
Absolutely.
You know.
Mhm.
And nobody
Absolutely.
has to tell you that, and you probably feel guilty about it every day when you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror. You don't have any.
Mirror?
You
What's a
don't.
mirror?
You,
Who
you
you?
you don't feel guilty about it at all
No.
because you don't
Mhm.
seem to be doing anything to lose it. I mean, if you really wanted to lose it, you could.
I'll give you the quick, easy way to lose weight.
Chop off an arm.
Eat less.
Eat less and move more. It's calories in, calories out.
Just eat smaller
I've
pieces
said that if you put
and
yourself
walk.
on a low carbohydrate diet, cut down the carbs almost to zero.
Yes.
Do what I did. I did it for a year and a half, and I lost 60 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and at your weight, you'll probably lose even more in a shorter amount of time. That's the
Then I
easiest.
got to go buy all new Levi's and T-shirts and stuff.
Oh, gee, that would really be terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, under Trump's plan. I wonder if I could get him to pay for it.
You
I'll
know.
send you a new T-shirt.
Well, I've often
All right,
believed
Jeff,
that we coddle people who have too much weight. We go, "Oh no, you're not that fat."
Yes, I am.
He is, and don't make him feel like we don't coat it with, "Oh well, you're okay the way you are." When you know he
I
isn't.
get tired of that. I walk into the medical assistant at Kaiser will take your blood pressure and all that, and put you in the office, and I say, I expect my blood pressure to be high. It was actually 124/70 2 days ago at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I said I expect it to be high because as fat as I am. Oh no, we don't say that anymore. Okay,
They
okay,
should.
I'm obese.
You
Because
walk in, you
when
sit
the
down.
doctor writes his report, he says he's
When you
obese.
sit down there, the doctor should look at you and go, "My God, are you a fat fuck?"
I wish
Okay,
he would.
but I guess they're not supposed to do it because that isn't considered proper hospital procedure now.
Probably
But
not.
it's the only thing that's going to tell you that if your doctor's saying you're a fat fuck, you must be a fat fuck.
Absolutely. I know I'm fat. I know I'm overweight. I've been like this.
Well,
You know,
I mean, hey, you do this show every night. I've gotten to like you. You're kind of a friend, as friends are. I don't want to sit here and sugarcoat the whole thing, you know?
I'm glad I missed the medical hour, half hour. You can email me the hemorrhoid, and I'll let you know if it's a hemorrhoid or cancer.
No, I just said that was a new idea for a kind
It
of
was
show
cute.
to do here for the
It was
internet.
cute. I don't want to waste the rest of
It
your
will
show.
also drive YouTube and Facebook crazy. You know, does this look like a hemorrhoid to you? And then
Maybe
I'll even bring in. Huh?
Stock market went up today. Went up big time. Guess what dropped? Facebook.
Facebook went down.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
He's out there getting ready to go climb under his desk. He's out there trying to. I guess he's got meetings with him on Monday or something.
Yeah,
Zuckerberg.
I'll tell you, all my stocks went up except for Meta. Meta went down 2.72% today. It's still $543 a share. I wouldn't buy it. I didn't think it was going to go this far.
Well, now if it's going to go down, you know. Yeah.
My biggest holding is Cisco Systems. It went up 74 cents. But when you take that times 9,000 shares,
You know, the best thing to do is just don't look at your stocks. Look at them once a month.
my problem is I want to sell some of them. My problem is my income bracket will push me over into the next bracket, and I'll end up paying half of it in taxes.
Well,
So
the problem also is, though, that you don't want to buy now because you don't buy in a bad
I'm not
market.
going to buy it. At my age, I'm going to sell my stock portfolio. I'm hoping Trump will say you can do it tax free.
I wish I had some other place to put my money, but unfortunately, there's only the stock market for the most part.
Right.
You know what?
I'm sure you made money today. The market was up overall.
I mean, I left it in the, you know, I had it in the bank for a while, and on a lot of money, I was getting like $3.75 in interest a month.
For every $100,000, yeah, really.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well,
Yep.
anyway, so in other words, I think what we've basically said here is we're screwed, you know, and the only way this is going to solve itself is in midterms. That we got to take the power away from him to do anything.
Absolutely.
And unless the American public is made to know what's going on, I agree with See, I told you that cough was loosening up. As Josh was saying, it's really, you know, it's all a matter of getting people to realize that they're being screwed now, you know. And it's simple. It's going to be simple to say. Like, are groceries cheaper now than they were when he took office? He said he was going to make them better. He didn't make them better.
Get them worse.
Now instead of 2 dozen eggs for $8, you get 1 dozen.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the price of eggs are. I do know what they are over at Costco for like 2 dozen. And it's
I'll tell you
like
tomorrow when I go.
up around, yeah, but I'd just like to go to, I'm going to look at my local grocery store and see what they are, because that's where it really counts. Anyway, hey, listen, that's about it for tonight. And I don't know that I'm going to post this show. It was a good show, too. A bunch of very intelligent people with some very intelligent discussion. But I just, you know, we had that little problem. I might post the thing tomorrow. I don't want to have to do it tonight. It's going to be too much work. It's going to be a bit of work. So anyway, I want to thank you, Jeff, for being here with us tonight. And just remember, just leave one of those earphones in and you'll probably be fine, because it was trying to pick up the audio through your earphones. You know, those are Apple earphones. I know them. I have a pair. And to you, Kevin, great having you here. Josh, always good having you here. And Alan, same to you. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us tonight. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Talk to you later. Bye. And that's our citizen panel for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second. Let me just put my face up here so you can see me instead of frozen like that. Stay tuned now for Amy Emanuel. She'll be here with the intersection. You can catch her and call her on Zoom. Okay, and if you want to find an address for her on Zoom, go to our Gabnet page. It's right there under all the stuff that says Zoom. In the meantime, I'll see you again on Monday with the pop-up show at 4 o'clock on Facebook, and then I'll see you again on Wednesday on YouTube, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, yeah, you know, tell her I love her, okay? All right, bye.